As the VGC 2016 format comes to a close, I would like to point out an observation I've made over the last couple months that just feels really weird with how the format has unfolded. It feels like even going into Pokemon Sun and Moon, even going into 2017, people are expecting legendaries to be the standard way that Pokemon is played competitively, but this simply is not true. So this is like what did it right here. You know, we have the announcement for the 2016 Video Game Championship format, and it turned everything upside down because you are allowed to use 2 legendaries, as we already know. You know, Xerneas, Groudon dominates, and we saw a lot of Kyogre, and then legendary Pokemon just kind of made it unfun for everyone when paired with a Smeargle. Now the problem is that the Pokemon Company hasn't really done anything to clear up or at least deal with the community at all, because what I've noticed is that people are taking it seriously. People are treating that legendaries are the way that Pokemon's made to be played. I've seen this echo all the way into Smogon, and even people being upset that's like, oh man, I don't want to play against legendaries. VGC 2016 is over. You don't have to play against legendaries for a couple of years now, because that's how Pokemon is. It's like people forgot the year before there wasn't a legendary format. The year before that, there wasn't a legendary format. The year before that, there wasn't a legendary format. Just go on the rated battle spot. There are no legendaries being allowed, and even when we go onto the rated battle spot, like if I just pull it up really quick, go to random matchup, rated battle, this is where we start to see some interesting stuff, because when we go to the rated battle straight up, we're not allowed to use legendary Pokemon, and the only way to train for VGC was through the special battle when it was available for the VGC format. So that was just something I wanted to bring up, is that you had to go through a lot of hoops to participate in VGC compared to what you just do normally. That this is the Pokemon format, and I don't think people have really understood this for many years. This has been one of the biggest problems I've had with my channel, is that official Pokemon, it's somewhere between like VGC, but it's also on the rated battle spot. That Pokemon Company has their own ladder. You can go and participate in single battles in a VGC-ish format, and then go and get rated and try to prove that you are one of the best, and that's really all there is to it. So this is the competitive format for Pokemon, but people still look at it like, oh, look at how terrible the Pokemon Company is. How bad of a decision was it to allow legendaries? It was an experimentation. We saw the same experimentation back in 2010. So it even says it right here, you know, restricted Pokemon are allowed in battles for the first time since 2010. And back then, it was pretty much all Kyogre Rain teams and stuff, because Swift Swim in those generations was pretty darn terrifying. But it gave us the same kind of idea. It gave us the same things that were happening. And then what happened in 2011? No legendaries. What happened in future years until now? No legendaries. But then people are like using this as a point to attack the competitive integrity of Pokemon by saying that, oh, legendaries shouldn't be allowed in Pokemon play, therefore, you know, Pokemon needs more regulation. I'm going to Smogon where it makes sense, even though Smogon's decisions are even worse. And if you go into the greater scheme of things, you can just kind of look around and say, alright, play by rated battle spot as well. That you can adapt those rules. And also that, like, the past is something that people don't understand. That things are different 2 years ago than they are now. Things are different a year ago. Things are different in a different amount of time than when they were back then. Because when I made the statement, VGC singles, that was using the VGC rules, which was battle spot doubles, just in single battles, and somehow people had a very hard time figuring that out. I don't understand how hard it is to go from here to here, and then apply it as a 6v6. Like, there is a quote-unquote 6v6 battle spot format, you know, the online format, and at the time when I made the statement, it was the same format as VGC, so it was VGC 6v6 singles, and it's even in the rulebooks as an unsanctioned format, but still recognized officially by the Pokemon Company. So it gets into like these weird things that people don't look past what the Pokemon Company is currently doing, and they don't see into like how it all unfolds and what actually Pokemon is. Pokemon, for the all intents and purposes, when it comes to the competitive scene, is going to be rated battle spot rules in some form, whether it's the special season that ties to VGC or just rated in general. There are a few more regional events that are going to apply VGC 2016, so it will be legendaries and stuff. But after that, we're looking at a new format in Pokemon Sun and Moon, and I don't understand how it's so hard to even like consider a 6v6 singles when you just run 6 Pokemon instead of 3. That people say like, oh, Smogon is real and VGC 6v6 isn't. But there isn't a way to go and click Smogon rules on the battle spot, and there isn't a way to do a 6v6 Smogon rule, so it's the same thing. All you have to do is just have the preconceived rule sets, because if VGC 6v6, if 6v6 VGC singles doesn't exist, then 6v6 Smogon singles OU, RU, whatever, doesn't exist by that same regard. So the community is way too split, and the Pokemon Company kind of needs to do some PR right now, because people aren't happy that they're not allowed to cheat. I did a video on that recently, and the Pokemon Company refuses to make a statement because they know it will make them look bad if they say cheating is wrong, because they have people that have been proven to cheat as world champions and also on their analyst desk, and there's also just the whole community cannot be stopped with how entitled they are to the cheating. So Pokemon Company refuses to make a move right there. But now everyone's like lost trust in the Pokemon Company over this decision to allow legendary Pokemon, and that's really not how it is, because for some reason people can't look 3 months into the future or a year into the past and see that this is not how Pokemon is played, or even just go on the freaking battle spot. All you have to do is go on battle spot. Can you bring legendaries? Let's go and find out. Like, again, I'll just go and bring this up. So double battle just for fun, just to make sure it's all good and whatnot. Need to register the system because I haven't done rated battles yet. This is pretty much what I'm getting at right now, guys. I don't know if I can say much more without repeating myself, but let's click in party. My in party team, if I can actually bring up the screen, is this team right here, and at least one Pokemon is not able to participate because I have 2 legendaries, because I'm on the rated battle spot and you're not allowed to bring legendaries. This is not the standard Pokemon format. This is a very off time for Pokemon, and it is not something that should be seen as consistent or a bad decision by Pokemon. Pokemon Company had faith that it would be a bit more of a dynamic format. It was the same with the last season, you know, the community just kind of decided to be stale, and now we had the same Pokemon, like, what was it, 10 different Pokemon in the entire top 8 of VGC 2015 or something like that. So I don't think the Pokemon Company is screwing up as much as people saying, and that you need to turn to other outlets. Because Smogon certainly does a worse job managing their competitive scene, which is actually a really scary thing to think about it. And this is the official way. Like, if you play Pokemon in 2017, you can win thousands of dollars. That's pretty awesome. And then the last point I want to add are about mythical Pokemon, because that's another way that people attack the rule set, because you've never been allowed to use mythical Pokemon. You know, Mew, Celebi, Jirachi, Deoxys, Fion, Manaphy, Darkrai, Shaman, Arceus, etc. All of these Pokemon have generally been forbidden and not even in like the craziest of VGC formats. Now, for some reason, people also think that this is another point to attack Pokemon's rule sets or something, but just apply common sense for like 5 seconds. These Pokemon are not available readily in-game, and even with the most recent, like the Pokemon 20 anniversary event that we're getting, that's allowing these Pokemon through distribution, a year from now, if you missed out on any of these events, you are not going to have those Pokemon. Therefore, you are at a disadvantage to someone that could potentially bring these Pokemon. Also, it's easier to group them together. Here's where Smogon like has a problem, is that their rules start becoming too complex. You can use this legendary Pokemon, but not this legendary Pokemon. Use this Mega, but not this Mega. This Mythical, but not this Mythical. By the way, you can't put 2 Pokemon to sleep, evasion, and all kinds of other stupid rules that they end up having. Why can't I use Fissure? Isn't that a bad move? Well, no, you're not allowed to use Fissure or Swagger just because. So with Pokemon, this is for the broad spectrum. This is for pretty much everyone. Like, when you look at successful games, they don't have complex rules. It's easier to just kind of group everything together. Be like, alright, no mythical Pokemon because they're exclusive, no legendary Pokemon because they're overpowered, and that way you don't have to remember which Pokemon are going to be which. And even think about the main audience for Pokemon. It's kids. It's people that just want to have a good time playing Pokemon and not worry about too many rules and it getting too complicated. So the Pokemon rules are really good. All they need to do is maybe do some PR about cheating, maybe do some PR about how this legendary format was a mistake. Like, they should maybe admit that this wasn't the best year, because I think that a lot of people, like the majority of the community right now, thinks that this was the worst competitive year for Pokemon for many different reasons, and they also need to do something about timer stalling. They need to do something about unsporting behavior. A guy gave the middle finger to 30,000 people watching Pokemon Live for the World Championship on the main stage. No punishment. Time stalling is applauded by the analysts. It's not something entertaining. You need to have an open game. So I think that's the best thing to say, but I wanted to mostly make this video about legendary Pokemon, how it's not the thing. I don't know why people are still freaking out now that VGC is over. So hopefully things get better when it comes to like Pokemon Sun and Moon. We are riding off an amazing wave right now. We have Pokemon Go with a lot of people. We have the Pokemon 20th anniversary. We have more people interested in Pokemon now than ever. And it seems like the Pokemon Company is throwing that away because they're bad at admitting mistakes and they have bad PR on that front. And they choose to employ people that aren't doing what's best for their scene and for their reputation. I mean, it just gets worse and worse. Like, this tweet right here, I think kind of summarizes how bad VGC is getting, you know. After all, you were the one who decided not to break the rules and then bitch about it. It's your problem, not the cheaters. That's right. It's your problem you're not cheating. That's how bad the Pokemon community is right now, so I don't know what we can do to save this. And that's what I've got to say. So if you guys enjoyed the video, hope you all have a nice day. Thank you very much for watching.